It's Mike from Mike and Mike's Guitar Bar, and today we're going to discuss Fender's Thinline Telecaster, its architects and evolution, and we're going to delve deep into two custom color examples. The Thinline represents the first structural deviation of the Telecaster since its introduction as the Broadcaster in 1950. While most know the TELE's original branding as the Broadcaster, later rechristening as the Telecaster, and the minutiae of the Blackguard era of Telecaster production is forensically documented, far less attention has been paid to the Thinline model. The Thinline models have become increasingly sought after and prized both for their tonal properties and relative scarcity, but there's an entire subset of custom color Thinline models that are stratospherically rarer. The example we have in hand today is arguably the rarest of the bunch, finished in Kelly green with a purple perloid pickguard. Before we dive into this rarest of rare Telecasters, let's take a look at the model's primary creator and the other forces at Fender that shepherded its evolution. Roger Rossmeisl is one of the most important names in mid-century guitar development, and his work provides the connective tissue between multiple manufacturers of the era. Rossmeisl and his father were responsible for the first electric guitar-style instrument produced in the post-war era in Germany, circa 1947. In this case, a lap steel-style instrument similar to Rickenbacker's frying pan. When Rossmeisl arrived in the States from Germany in 1953, he first worked for Gibson at their Kalamazoo factory, later making the journey to California, where he was central to the R&D of Rickenbacker's 300 series guitars and 4000 series basses. Eventually leaving Rickenbacker for Fender in 1962, Rossmeisl would initially be tasked with creating Fender's line of acoustic models, including the King and concert models. Yet his effects at Fender would be wide-ranging and significant. Hollow instruments were central to Rossmeisl's design lineage, and at Fender he was the driving force pushing the company beyond solid-body instruments. These designs include the Montego and Limited or LTD model of archtop guitars, as well as the full Coronado line of guitars and basses, and central to today's story, the Thinline Telecaster. Clearly iterating on an acoustic tonewood platform, the first prototype of the Thinline had a hollowed-out rosewood body capped with a spruce top. In fact, Fender even produced a custom-shop version of this Thinline prototype in 2013, courtesy of master builder Greg Fessler. In a short-lived experiment, Rossmeisl even toyed with what's known as the smuggler's route TELE, with tone chambers routed beneath the pickguard.
Boy, it's lucky you had these compartments.
I use them for smuggling. I never thought I'd be smuggling myself in them.
The final Thinline design resulted as a collaboration between three key players: Rossmeisl himself, Virgilio "Babe" Simoni, Fender's product manager in the 60s and the force behind the Maverick and Swinger models, and Phil Kubicki. Yes, that Phil Kubicki. And while Kubicki would make a name for himself in the 1980s with his eponymous brand of basses, in the 1960s, he was Rossmeisl's direct assistant. It was Babe Simoni that cracked the code for Fender's Thinline body construction. Instead of routing from the top, as with the prototype and the smuggler's route TELE, Simoni suggested taking a thin slice off the back of the body, routing the Thinline as needed, and then re-gluing the back on the guitar. This cut the weight of the body roughly in half and would become the basis for the production Thinline Telecaster model. The Thinline was first released in July of 1968, offered with either an ash or a mahogany body, both with a natural finish to highlight the wood grain of the instrument. This aesthetic choice Fender would market through their Groovy Naturals ad campaign. A maple cap neck was standard, and although rosewood fretboard versions do exist, their production totals were much smaller. The Thinline otherwise stayed true to Leo Fender's original design, with a 3-saddle bridge, dual single-coil pickup complement, 3-way pickup selector, and master volume and tone knobs. The Thinline would only last until 1971, retroactively known as the Thinline 1 by players and collectors, as its feature set would change quite drastically in the ensuing years. The Thinline 1 would be supplanted by the Thinline 2 in late 1971, outfitted with a pair of Seth Lover designed wide-range humbuckers and a 6-saddle bridge akin to a hardtail Stratocaster. Now here's where things get fun. There were a host of custom colors designed specifically for the Thinline Telecaster model, noted by Fender mover and shaker Freddie Tavares, and retained on a handwritten note graciously provided to us by Fender historian Terry Foster. These colors included jet black, canary yellow, hot pink, lavender lilac, salmon, and Kelly green. Further adding to their visual allure, these guitars were fitted with either traditional white perloid pickguards or way out purple perloid pickguards. The production totals on these were so small that apparently Fender never even standardized the pickguard screw mounting template. The goal seemed to be purely to make the guards sit flat, as this perloid material had the propensity to warp. So on certain examples, you'll see the screws clustered in one location, and on another, they'll be on a completely different edge. Ultimately, not an impactful difference, but illustrative of what a niche product this was in a juggernaut like Fender in the 60s. Now, while all the custom colors in which the Thinline were produced are undisputably rare, Kelly green is arguably the rarest. We were hard-pressed to find a single example of this custom color outside of the guitar scene here, specifically with the purple perloid pickguard. Kelly green is a bold, opaque green polygloss, on this example shot over a mahogany body. For obvious reasons, we've taken to calling this one the Joker.
It's an homage to me. I'm kind of sorry I had to blow it up.
Now, the other Thinline that we're going to be looking at today is my personal guitar, with an ash body finished in jet black. In the last decade here at the Guitar Bar, we've been fortunate to have thousands of guitars through our hands. And we genuinely mean it when we say sometimes the best guitars find you. This was absolutely the case for me with this Thinline. It's been my go-to studio guitar, live guitar, and also my at-home couch strummer. It does everything I expect a Fender Telecaster to do, with that bite and percussive snap that I expect in a Fender single coil, yet with that airy warmth and breadth that comes with the semi-hollow body design. For more information on this Kelly green Tele and a plethora of other Telecasters in our inventory, except this one, visit us at mmguitarbar.com.